Hey everyone, hope you all are well. The first thing I'm doing, as always, is priming the eye area, and to do that, I'm using the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion. I've added a few swipes of this across the eye area, and now I'm taking the Sigma 3D HD Precision Brush, and I'm using that to buff and blend the primer into the skin. So I'm just adding this anywhere that I'll be adding eyeshadow, and this will just help to ensure the shadows go on nice and smoothly, they blend nice and easily, and it ensures they last all day long as well. So I'm taking the Urban Decay On The Run Shortcut palette again to achieve this week's makeup look. I knew I wanted to fill in one more look with this palette, and I wanted to create a nice autumnal halo smoky eye, so that's what we're doing today. The first shadow I'm taking is called Laced, and I'm picking this up on a Coastal Scents BR250 brush. This is just a really nice big fluffy brush. It does a great job at coating that crease area, and I'm just blending back and forward from outer to inner corner, just following the natural curve of the crease. So when it comes to the outer edge, I'm literally just stopping there. I'm rounding off the look today to help complement the style of shadow look that we are achieving today. So I'm taking up a second helping of this shadow now. This time I'm tapping a little on the outer third of the lid and then sweeping that colour back up into and across the crease, and I'm just letting the brush do all the work here. I'm using little circular motions and then just really buffing that shadow on there. Next then, I'm taking the shade Shortcut on a slightly smaller blending brush. This is the Sedona Lace EB09 Universal Blending Brush, and I'm going to start building up a nice gradient effect. So I'm blending the shadow in the same way as the last. I'm just applying it a bit deeper in the crease, and I'm not blending it up as far as the previous shade. I'm just overlapping them slightly because naturally I do want them to fade into one another, but I don't want to cover up the work that I've previously done. So this time as well, I've taken the shadow slightly down on the inner third of the eye as well as on the outer edge, just leaving a gap in the middle of the lid. And the lid area for now isn't really all that important because I will be coating it with a darker shade in a moment. I'm adding another layer now of that Shortcut shadow, and I'm just doing that to build up the intensity. I'm happy with the blend of the shade upon the first application, but it could pack more of a punch, so that's why I'm adding a little bit more now. Next then, I'm taking the shade Rendezvous. It's one of my favourite shades in the palette. I've just taken this up on that same Sedona Lace brush, and I'm starting by tapping this down on the outer edge of the eyelid, and then likewise on the inner corner, and then I'm just swinging it across the crease and back down on that outer edge. So when it comes to darker shades like this, it's very easy to go overboard very quickly. So sometimes the darker the shade that I'm using, the smaller the brush that I'll choose to apply it with. And just that way I can be a bit more precise, and then I'll also use a smaller amount of product as well. So you can always go back in and add more and build up the colour. It's much easier to do that than to apply too much and then to try and take some away or fade it out. So I always start small and go from there, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. So I've gotten the general shape now from that first application, so I'm going to go in with a second layer of that burgundy shade, and I'm going to build up that colour. I'm not too worried about a little of that shadow overlapping the centre of the lid slightly. It doesn't have to be crisp and clean. If you really wanted a defined halo or spotlight smoky eye, whatever you like to call it, you could use a little concealer in the centre to clean things up, but I'm not going to do anything like that today, not do anything too defined. I just want a nice soft spotlight, and I find the shimmer shade covers up well enough on its own without having to do a big cleanup job beforehand. So once I'm happy with the blend of that burgundy, I'm going in with the lid shade. It's called Zone. I've picked this up on a flat C-shaped brush from Blank Canvas Cosmetics, and I've sprayed the brush with some of the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray in the Extra Glow version, just to give it that little bit more of a sparkle. And now I'm tapping this down on the centre of the lid. And this shadow does require a little bit of layering if you do want an intense look, but it's good in a way, I suppose, if you didn't want anything too dramatic. It is a buildable shadow. So I just packed on a couple of layers and I was happy with the finish of it then. I'm now taking a little more of the shade Rendezvous, and I'm applying it either side of that shimmery shade, and I'm blending it out just so those two shades fade softly together. For the lower lash line now, I'm taking the Sedona Lace 904 brush. It's just a nice pencil brush, and I'm using this then to apply some of the first shade that we applied laced. I'm running this all the way down along the lower lash line, and then I'm connecting it up on that outer edge. Again, we've gone for a rounded look today, so I'm just looping it up onto the outer edge of the eyelid. So once I've got that down there, I'm then taking some of the shade Shortcut and I'm running this all the way down there too. Again, you can keep it tighter to the lash line if you don't want a really smoky appearance, but I like to really buff and blend out the shade, especially when I'm doing a rounded look. I just find it helps to kind of open up the eyes and it makes them appear just much larger. So once again then I'm taking that same brush. This time I'm applying a small amount of the shade Rendezvous. I'm starting by applying this down along the outer third of the lower lash line, and then I'm going to sweep the remainder across towards the inner half of the eyelid just to really buff and blend out that shade. Next then I'm taking this shadow. It's just a matte black. It's from Pennies. It was only €1. Any black eyeshadow will do. And I've picked up this on a Sedona Lace EB21 brush. It's just a small C-shaped brush. And I'm adding a touch of this to the outer and inner portion of the eye. I'm wriggling it into the lash bed and then buffing it ever so slightly up onto the lid. I just want a small amount of definition either side of the halo shade, I suppose, the highlight shade, the spotlight shade. I just want to pull this forward even more and make it stand out and pop that little bit further, and adding a little bit of black will help to do that. Then I'm taking whatever excess is on my brush and I'm just really lightly wriggling this into the lashes along the lower lash line. Then I'm going in with the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil in 0, and I'm running this inside the eye. Right along the waterline, I'm closing my eye around the pencil to coat both the top and bottom waterline at the same time. I've then added some of the Sosu lashes, and now I'm applying some of the L'Oreal Air Volume Mascara, and I'm using this to coat my top and bottom lashes. And for the final shade then, I'm going to take it's called Sin. It's a nice shimmery highlight shade, kind of champagne shade. So I'm using a Sigma E30 pencil brush to apply a little dab of this around the tear duct of the eye, just to add a nice bit of a highlight and under the arch of the brow as well. And then that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll catch you all soon.